The project Go Social, supporting employability through social entrepreneurship, is funded by the European Union under the Innovation and Change in Education VII Grant Scheme and is implemented by the Famagusta Walled City Association, MASDER, AKTI Project and Research Centre, and MAKAMER, Famagusta Women's Centre Association. This podcast was created with the support of the European Union. The contents of this podcast are the sole responsibility of the project partners and can in no way be taken to reflect the views of the European Union. Welcome back to our podcast Let's Go Social, where we aim to continue the efforts and discussion towards creating a supportive framework for the development of the social and environmental economy in Cyprus. For this episode, we are joined by Ashraf Saleem, current president of VOIS Cyprus, a non-profit organisation aiming to bring to light the problems faced by international students in the northern part of Cyprus. Today we discuss the integration of marginalised groups into society and reinforcing the bonds between communities using new perspectives and skills for a more united community and workforce. What were some of the initial events or concerns, or was there anything specifically that happened that led to the establishment of VOIS? How did it all begin?
Basically, it was founded officially in February 2018. Before that, for around maybe 6 months before that, the ideas were already happening with the founders, the co-founders. There is 4 of them. It was at that point, there was the first thing that sparked the idea was a conference that happened in Eastern Mediterranean University. The conference was titled Concerns of International Students in North Cyprus, basically. It was organized by Dawson, the teachers union EMU. After that conference, the co-founders, they were friends, they got together. The thought was happening. We need a body that protects international students. Until I think around 5-6 months before that, before February 2018, there was a very unfortunate incident where a Nigerian international student, Dede Kennedy, was murdered. And after the murder happened, the founders were seeing that there was no justice, nothing happening, no actions being taken at all. So it was that action that made them say, okay, it's time to find it. They've established VOIS Cyprus, and I'll be glad to say also that this case actually finally received justice around December, I believe, where all 4 perpetrators were sentenced and the case was closed finally, thanks to a massive part due to efforts by VOIS Cyprus.
From your day of starting VOIS, founding VOIS, there's been an incredible growth and progress with the organization. What would you say are some of the values, characteristics, and practices of VOIS that have contributed to its consistent growth and development as an organization?
The most important one is our thinking, especially the founders thinking about sustainability. As an organization, it's a core value that we believe in sustainability. We were always thinking, what about when we are gone? What about when we leave? What about when we graduate? What's next? It can be just a 1-2 year thing and VOIS finishes. So sustainability is always something that, and consistency is what led, I would say, VOIS to be what it is today. Always developing, nurturing talent, young talent, believing in them, inspiring their passions, and at the same time being consistent on our goals no matter what is what led VOIS to be as strong as it is today. Of course, there are other values I can list, but these are the major ones.
And what are some of the fields of practices or some of the projects that will improve the quality of life of students and international students in Cyprus? What are some of the projects that you've either done or that await you in the future?
We're in the current final stage of an EU project, EU funding grant that we applied to. We're in the final stage. We hope that soon enough we get the acceptance. We truly believe if we get the acceptance, it's going to be a game changer. So we're all very excited, nervous, but very excited for that. So is the International Student Society. Apart from that, I mean, we've had several activities. The workshops were very important. It was the first of its kind in the northern part of Cyprus, where it brought both like key stakeholders, duty bearers, face-to-face with student bodies. That never happened before. So it was really important that kind of VOIS instigated that to happen. I believe the student documentary was also the first ever major release on the international student body here. It was a 50-minute documentary, basically like a premium, where I believe it managed to kind of showcase and summarize the issues that the international student body here faces very well, very aptly. I would say these are the most major things that VOIS have done in terms of campaigns and activities.
Were there any challenges during the processes of either applying for funding or searching for these funding opportunities or starting your projects and your activities? What were some of the challenges that you faced?
We had experience in terms of like non-funded opportunity, but it was the first time we do anything funded. This is the first capacity building workshop. So to apply for it, and we are a very young organization. As of today, we're like 3 years old, but back then we were a year and a half, basically. And to add on that, unfortunately, we are also unregistered due to the existing legislation in the northern part of Cyprus. CSOs, or organizations founded by foreigners, cannot be legally registered. Till today, there is a huge hurdle or a huge roadblock for us to access many funding opportunities. And it was back then, but thankfully with dedication and non-stop work and all the work of all the VOIS Cyprus volunteers, we managed to secure the fund. So in general, that's one challenge. Another challenge also, of course, is we weren't used to the language, to the writing. You know how tough the process is. So it was quite challenging. But now we're getting more and more used to it. Now I believe like we have quite a lot of experience in our belt. So we're glad for that.
What are some of the main activities that you're looking to do, or some of the outcomes you hope to achieve through the project?
I'm not gonna lie, it's quite a large project, quite a large one. So all hands on deck for this one. It covers basically the committees of VOIS. It covers them on a project basis. So the committees of VOIS are covering areas of gender discrimination or gender abuse, mental health, institutional discrimination, housing issues, and working conditions. This project covers them basically, but on a project basis. So we're touching areas in relating to institutional discrimination, such as health system and inequality in the health system and lack of quality, or assessing racism, or establishing surveys and databases for racism in the northern part of Cyprus. The legal system as well, the legal system of international students, lack of translators in court, and so on. We're also touching on housing conditions. This is an area, unfortunately, we've been somewhat lacking in VOIS, so this project will hopefully compensate for that. Then working as well, we're trying to provide key market skills for the youth community here, for the international students, how to be more available in the market, and provide them more opportunities for entrepreneurship, for example, and freelancing and remote work and so on. That's a very important point, access to labor. Environment, of course, is something that's cross-cutting all of our activities. We always try to find, in this specific activity, how can we relate it to environment, how can we help the environment more. Gender, of course, we're trying to provide more shelters, for example, more legal and gender and mental health are also like cross-cutting in VOIS. So we're trying to provide more mental health counseling services and things like that, basically. And just general areas, we're also trying, of course, to affect the legislation here, change it as much as we can, because legislation changes are always important for long-term change. Trying to network and also gain more networks for VOIS is something very important.
But speaking of the local legislation and local authorities, do you believe that stakeholders, decision makers, or even the public or private entities have supported, have they provided support to create an inclusive working, studying, living environment for international students? Is there any progress that's being made through your efforts?
In terms of legislation, I would definitely say it's a problem in many areas. Thankfully, I know legislations recently have been done in the area of gender to criminalize domestic violence, and I know human trafficking also. which international students unfortunately are a part of. These are the two areas, legislation when it comes to working, housing, and certain institutional values, for example, when it comes to university operations and so on, extremely lacking. That's an area we always try to focus on, but changing legislation is not easy, as I'm sure you know. In terms of stakeholders helping us out in doing changes, it's always a give and take. Sometimes they've been helpful in certain things. Sometimes they do listen to us and some changes happen. Sometimes, for example, universities, we work with them. Sometimes they are actually like helpful. Other times, not so much as well. But definitely more can be done. Like, unfortunately, I would say they don't help more than they help, unfortunately. So more definitely can be done.
If something was going to change and they were going to be offering some form of help to VOIS, what would those items be? Let's just think of a list, and what would your top 3 priority areas be in terms of the help you receive?
I can say, like what we want, basically. First of all, I mentioned the legislation when it comes to registering. That's the first priority we have. I mean, change the legislation, allow us to be registered as an organization is something that will allow us to be self-sustaining, allow us more access to funds, which is extremely important. And apart from legislations in general, not just that one, creating an easy-to-access network, I would say, is one of our top priorities, like create a committee or coordination place where we can easily access you to provide you with the student body face-to-face. I would say because a major issue is basically a huge gap between the student body and the bodies which are supposed to care for them. So closing in that gap would be something that they can definitely help. For example, using more English, because the language barrier is huge here, even though it's the universities are like advertised as English speaking. It's not the reality, unfortunately, for most of them, not all. Kind of just be more humane. Try to talk to those students on a more humane level instead of just being so cold. For example, when it comes to health, I mean, they can provide more English-speaking psychologists, more English-speaking health practitioners. The ambulance times in many cities, for example, are very, very lacking. The health quality sometimes have racial discrimination. Housing section has racial discrimination. These are all things that can be changed by, for example, the belediyas, the municipalities. There is a lot to be changed. I can speak for another hour, yeah.
I understand also that there's a lot that can be done to help you so that you, in return, can help others. It's sort of a give and take, as you said. If you could present us with a picture of what would happen if that help came, what are some of the things that VOIS could do? What would all that help mean for the future of international students and, as a result, the future of Cyprus?
Well, you would have a lot more inclusive and happier society and harmonious society. That's kind of the end goal of VOIS. Not necessarily that society currently is divided, but international students definitely are a marginalized community. So what VOIS is aiming for, if we are able to some sort of get like a blank check to do whatever we want, you would have, let's say, a modern quality of life for international students here, with modern services, modern access to information, freedom of association, freedom of speech, modern access to healthcare, access to housing. But to summarize it, like I said, society will be a lot more harmonious. More restrictions on hate speech that recently have been rising, for example, like the media recently focusing so much on international students when they occasionally commit crimes or whatever. It seems as if international students are the only ones committing it. It's dividing society, unfortunately, and if we are able to have what we want, society would be one, basically.
Is there anything else you would like to add at all?
I would like to bring the light again to our upcoming project. What VOIS has achieved in those 3 years is a miracle. I'm speaking personally here, like worldwide, it's a miracle. This project will take VOIS to even like a new level, like groundbreaking boundaries. By the end of this project, hopefully the shape of the northern part of Cyprus in terms of international students, even in general, will be quite different, we hope. We'll have a lot more inclusivity in society, a lot more modern human rights and modern living standards. So we just hope to whoever is listening with us, like the international student body, to support us in it, because first and foremost, they are our backbone. They are our main target audience and supporters. Without them, VOIS is nothing. So to support us, to be with us, to join us, what we want is best for everyone. It's not like there is no lose situation here. It's win-win for everyone. So just Work with us, support us, help us, and it's going to make the entirety of society better. LinkedIn, Snapchat, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, just write VOIS Cyprus, you will find it. Our email is info@voicecyprus.org. You can reach us out there. Our website, voicecyprus.org. You can reach us through these three means, and we'll get in touch with you in like 3 days max.
And just in case you've missed the contact info for VOIS Cyprus, we have provided their social media pages and contact details in the description below. If you've enjoyed listening to this episode and know of someone who may benefit from the topics discussed, feel free to share with your network. The Go Social project concludes its activities on the 8th of August 2021. However, if you would like to find out more about social entrepreneurship or educational and informative materials of the Go Social project, visit the project website at www.gosocialcy.eu. Please also remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you can access training videos on social entrepreneurship, short documentaries on local social initiatives, as well as the rest of our podcast episodes. Thank you for listening, and we hope you tune in to our next episode of Let's Go Social. Until then, take care.